All right, what's up? What's up? I just want to do a quick audio test to make sure that audio is good. All right, cool. What's up, Miss Sheena? What's up, Scrolling? What's up, Guilty? I appreciate you guys for tapping in. All right, loud and clear. All right, good, good. We're going to give a few moments before we get started on Technical Tuesday to give some more people some time to tap in. Let me know what you guys think on me just staying at 12:15 versus going back and forth between 11:15 and 12:15. So the reason why I keep going back and forth between the two times is because on the days where I have business to take care of, it usually runs into the study time that I use to prep before I go live. So I like to have at minimum an hour time to prep. And I know sometimes folks may get accustomed to the 11:15 time, and then I have to adjust to the 12:15. So sometimes it's really back and forth battle for me, but I want to make sure that whatever time frame works best for you, that we can work things out. So that's just so I'm just curious on what you guys' thoughts is. Do you prefer 11:15 or do you prefer 12:15? Because I know some folks go to take their breaks during the 11:15 time frame, and then others take theirs a little bit later. But I just want to make sure whatever time it is that it's giving you guys enough time to connect with me. So I just want to make sure that it works. Okay. So please share this live. Also hit the like button if you are on YouTube. What's up, Yas? What's up, Deborah? Appreciate you guys for tapping in. Please share the information. I mean, not share the information, share the fact that I am live. Because we're gonna dig a little deep today. All right, so Guilty likes 12:15. Okay. And I gotta be honest with you, I kind of like 12:15 too, because like I said, it gives me that time to prep myself. I am a planner, so and I really do not like to do things at the last minute. And not that I don't. It doesn't bother me, but again, I just rather prep and then give you guys the information versus me have to hustle through and then give you guys bits and pieces. So that's just really what it is. All right, so I said either works for her. Guilty likes 12:15. And since no one else answered, it probably just doesn't even matter as long as they connect, right, and get the information, right? And I guess I can side on that fact if I was if someone was giving me information. It really didn't matter the time as long as I get the information, right? So that's all that would matter to me. Okay. All right. All right, cool. So we're gonna get started. Well, first and foremost, welcome to Market Heat. If you're tired of chasing momentum or trading with no edge, this is where clarity begins. All right. So here I excuse me, here I break down tickers from my perspective so you can view them from a different lens. All right. It is always good to be able to look at things from another's perspective because it allows for that, the pros and the cons, or just a simple agreement or disagreement or agreeing to disagree, right? It's a healthy debate, right? Now, understand, any information I share with you, of course, is not financial advice. Why? Because I am not a financial advisor. Okay. Now, if you are new to both channels, YouTube and IG, please make sure you take the time on IG to follow and like the information. And for you YouTubers, to make sure you subscribe and like the content as well. And overall, of course, please make sure you are sharing this information. All right. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. What's up? I don't want to say it wrong, so I'm just going to say Vans. What's up, Vans 881? Appreciate you for tapping in. All right. Now, before we get started, again, I just want to make sure I point it out again that the boot camp is starting next week. All right. We have about another 6 more days before we get started. So I want to make sure that you get your spot. The discount code lock-in is still available. So make sure you tap in. All right. All right, cool. So let's get started. All right. So as you can see, the information that's on the screen, Trump's Fed pressure campaign will lead to high inflation, weaker growth, according to a CNBC survey. Now, I thought this was a dope segue because what's the hot topic right now? Of course, the rate cuts, right? They've been talking about it for quite some time. This administration has been going back and forth with Powell and his people in regards to all of the things that this administration is supposedly saving, which would lead to a rate cut. Now, based off this article, and I got this, this came to me earlier today, right? So Trump's Fed actions are designed to limit or eliminate the central bank's independence. All right. So according to 82% of respondents, right? So the survey showed 68% think the president's actions will put upward pressure on inflation. Now, first, we have to really understand what causes inflation, right? And I'm going to talk about this in a few when it comes to simple economics and demand. Now, first and foremost, I am no economic expert, specialist, guru, right? So I just want to make sure I put that out there, right? But what I do is I do my own due diligence, and I do like to stay in touch with this type of information, right? Because I think it's important to know what's happening in the economy. I think everybody should take the time to understand what's happening in the economy. So there may be some things that I may not be 100% accurate about, but nonetheless, it is in the ballpark of the truth. Okay. So again, I don't have 10,000 hours of looking at economic data, but I do from time to time dibble and dabble just for the sake of just self-education, right? So I just want to make sure that I put that out there because I don't want nobody coming on the page talking about, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I get it. And the times that we live in now, everybody's looking to, critique somebody about something when in all reality, the individual is just looking to just, enlighten the people and just share some really simple information that is going to impact them one way or another. Right. So I just want to make sure I put that out there. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So 68% think the president's actions will put. Oh, I was talking about inflation. So what we have to understand, what ultimately causes inflation, right? So, I don't know. There's so many different ways to really approach this, right? Let me think of the best way. Let me see. Let me see. So I guess ultimately we could just sum it up like this. When there's too much money being spent, it causes inflation. I guess that would probably be the best way to summarize that up, right? Because more and more people are buying things, which causes the price of things to go up, right? And that's just the reality of it, right? And I guess this ties right into simple economics, right? So supply and demand. So if the demand of something increases, it is going to lower the supply, right? Because there has to be a balance, right? And again, I'm no expert. I'm just talking. We're just having a conversation, all right? Now, if anybody feels that this information is not correct, you're more than welcome to tap in and we could have a healthy debate about it, okay? Excuse me. But for the most part, as demand increases, supply decreases. As supply increases, demand decreases. Okay? That's simple economics 101. That's something we all learned probably in junior high school or maybe even high school. Okay? What's up, Dries? What's up, LX2? Appreciate you guys for tapping in. Let me do a quick check-in on YouTube. Okay. All right. I have to make sure I monitor each channel, the conversation area, because I have been missing out on some of the YouTube comments, and I want to make sure I address all that information. Okay. I mean, not all the information. That I address any questions or comments. Okay. So where was I? Right. So when demand goes up, supply comes down. Okay. When supply goes up, demand comes down. Right. It is a healthy seesaw. Okay. It is a nice, healthy seesaw. And excuse me. Sorry, I keep coughing. Let me get something to drink real quick. Sorry. Where did I put my drink? Oh. All right. I know I wouldn't want to hear you drink nothing. I get it. I'm sorry, but I'm doing a lot of talking right now. So, excuse me. All right. So we did the supply and demand example, right? So when it comes to inflation, so because there is so much money being used in the economy, it is causing the prices of things to go up, right? So what is everybody screaming about right now? Rate cuts, rate cuts, rate cuts, rate cuts, right? Do we really truly understand the cycle of rate cuts, right? So now before we get into the cycle of rate cuts, let's get back to this article, okay? So based on this survey, right? So the Fed will cut rates by 25 basis points. 97% believe that it's going to happen. Should cut rates by 25 basis points. 41% believe that this is going to happen. Cook will remain on the Fed, 62%. Myron, unpaid leave, inappropriate. I'm not even sure what that really has to do with anything. But Trump trying to limit or eliminate the Fed independence, 82% believe that is something that will happen. Okay. So there's another example of it. Trump and Fed independence, 41% limited, 41% eliminated, 10% supported. Right. Now, I'm not going to get deep into this, but I want you to do your own due diligence on why we are so dependent on the Fed. Right. That's number one. right? Because if everybody doesn't know, we have what is called the feds, right? Which ties into central banking and all kinds. It's a whole nother rabbit hole. All right, but we didn't come in for that rabbit hole because that can lead to all kinds of surprises, right? But nonetheless, right now we are heavily dependent on the Fed for guidance, right? That's what they're there for. That's what they were designed for. Okay. Now, based off this article, right? So the survey found that 41% of economists, fund managers, and strategists surveyed believe that the president's actions are directly aimed at eliminating the Fed's independence, with 41% saying they are designed to limit them. Okay. The Trump administration is likely to continue its attempts to reduce the independence of Fed with an objective being to pressure the Fed to reduce short-term interest rates meaningfully and boost economic growth, even at the expense of placing some upward pressure on inflation. Now, this is the part I really want people to understand, because then now we really start talking about the cycle, right? And the cycle is very simple. When you lower interest rates, now, of course, that is going to increase spending power, right? The banks are going to start loaning, have all these loan products that are going to be cheaper to acquire. People are going to start spending more. Folks are going to start hiring more, right? Because now, if let's use this example. I have a job, you have a company. I go and take the money that I earn from my job, spend it at your company. You take that revenue and you spend it on paying your employees, creating new products, and so on and so forth, right? That's the cycle. I earn, spend, purchase your products. You take that revenue, do whatever it is you need to do with that revenue. And then as a company, you now buying other stuff, right? It's a cycle, right? Okay. As that cycle continues, inflation slowly starts to creep up. Okay. The only way to cool inflation is to what? To slow down the spending, right? If you guys are with me so far, let me know. Let me know in the chat. If you follow me so far, let me get a 1 in the chat. If for whatever reason what I'm talking about is confusing you, let me get a 2. Let me know in the chat. All right. So guilty, you with me? Okay. All right. Wait, what? That is an interesting name, brother. What's up? What's up, who? That is an interesting name. All right, cool. So guilty and who is with me. What about everybody else? Everybody else with me? Let's check YouTube. All right, cool. You guys are with me too. All right, cool. All right, so as you're welcome, brother. As gosh, I didn't lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Gosh, where did I leave off? Gosh, I really forgot where I was going with this. All right, but then let's jump to the next topic, and I'll come back to it. Gosh, I really can't believe I just lost my train of thought like that. I think it was your name that threw me off, brother. All right, so that's what it was. I was talking about the the cycle, right? So as people spend more, it's causing inflation to rise, right? So what has to happen? No, that's where I was. So the banks are loaning more money. More people are taking this money. They're buying different things. They're buying, right? So inflation is slowly but surely creeping up. Okay. All right. Now, as inflation starts to creep up, now we start having those conversations with the Fed to cut rates. Okay. Now the Fed looks at all of this data. What's up, Ray BS? Appreciate you tapping in. Now the Fed looks at all of this data to figure out whether or not they want to make a decision. Okay. What's up, Sarita? Appreciate you tapping in. Now, based on the data, now first, before we even get even further, the data that they're looking at, right? They're looking at the overall data in regards to how people are spending, where the money is the spending is being concentrated, how jobs are being created, if whether or not people are being employed, whether or not people are now dependent on the government for employment, meaning unemployment, so unemployment benefits, right? So all of this data, they take all of this data, is compiled, and then they make a decision, right? And for whatever reason, that information is showing that we should not cut the rates, then guess what's going to happen? They're just not going to cut the rates, right? If that information is showing that we should raise the rates, then guess what's going to happen? We're simply going to raise the rates, okay? But in this scenario, this current scenario that we're going through right now, back and forth with the administration and the feds, because of all the work that this administration feels that they are getting done, whether it's with tariffs, whether it's the creation of new jobs, whether it's being a leader in the AI race, defense, so on and so forth, this administration feels that we're at a point, because of all the work that's being done, that we should start to cut some of these rates. Okay. All right, cool. Now, as I said, all of this spending is doing what? It's causing inflation to slowly creep up, right? As it's creeping up, it reaches a certain point. Now the Fed feels, okay, we need to cut it. So what happened? We cut it. So once we cut it, what happens? It opens up the floodgates for more people to start coming in, getting money, spending money, and that cycle starts all over again, right? Now, I am not pro-cut, neither am I anti-cut. I feel that there has to be some type of balance. Okay, what's up, Pura? Appreciate you tapping in. There should be some type of balance, right? Again, going back to simple economics, supply and demand, right? Once there's a balance, at some point, if the scales tip, that's okay, but it shouldn't be literally looking like a seesaw. Somebody sitting on the bottom and a bunch of folks sitting on the top, right? That should never be the scenario, because then we have cycles like this, right? We start high. We start low. There's more money being printed. People are taking that money now and they're spending it. Spending. Now the cost of spending that money has increased. So what happens? Now at some point we got to have a conversation about some cuts. So then when those cuts happen, cools everything down. People start losing their jobs, right? Why? Because if inflation is creeping into a specific point where as things are costing too much, that is going to cause the CEO or all of the executives to sit in their wonderful office and have conversations about how we need to start letting people go because we just can't afford things because things are too high. What have we seen for the last, I don't know, 6-7 months? All types of job cuts. Now, of course, the majority of this is due to the AI. I don't want to call it a bubble, but the whole AI race, right? The U.S. wants to be the leader in the space, but at what cost, right? So now these executives, they're having these conversations. Now everybody's 20,000 people are getting their jobs are eliminated, right? So what now happens with those individuals that were once employed? Now they're filing for unemployment. Now the number of individuals unemployed, when that data comes out, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think the end result of that's going to be? Right? This is not a positive thing. Now, it's positive for the economy. Why? Because if I'm working my 9 to 5, I get overtime. Now I'm making all the money I want to make, right? Now I'm spending as much as I want to spend. But now when it comes to unemployment, I'm only getting a specific amount, specific types of benefits that's coming in at a specific time during the month. Now that's putting a limit on how much I can spend. Now, this is great for the economy because why? It slowly, surely starts to create a form of balance, right? And of course, this is what they want, right? But again, what we have to understand is that this is a vicious cycle. So if we start to cut the rates now in 2025, this is like right on schedule. This is happening right on schedule. Now, if you guys have been paying attention to the economy, especially within the last, let's see, it's Trump, then it was Biden, then it was Trump, then Obama. I think that's how it was. I really can't remember. It was Biden. No, it was Biden. It was Trump, Biden, Obama. I don't know. If you guys can remember, let me know in the chat because right now I can't think of who was before Obama. I think it was Trump because he 45th and 47th. Yeah, it was Trump. So then before Trump, it was Obama. Okay. So if you've been looking at the economy since back then, and you've been paying attention to all of this economic data, it's a vicious cycle, right? Because what happened during COVID? There was no interest rates. Well, I'm not going to say that there was no. I mean, I'm not going to say that there weren't any interest rates, but nonetheless, we had quantitative easing, right? They just kept pumping more and more and more and more and more. So it was Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump. Thank you. I know it wasn't bugging. Thank you. I appreciate you guys for helping me out with that. So what happened? We had all these rates almost down to zero, which caused what? More and more money to be dumped into the economy, which is why we are where we are now. So what do you think is going to happen to this economy? Or better yet, let me ask this question. What do you think the short-term and long-term effects are going to be of this cut? What do you guys think the end result, or not the end result, but the short-term and long-term results are going to be from this cut? Because we really have to really go back, and I mean go way back, right? Go way back. I'm talking about 2001 way back. What's up, Evie? Appreciate you tapping in. What happened in 2001? Well, we had a few things happen. There was the .com era, right? We had the 9/11, the unfortunate thing with the all the lives were lost in 9/11. Condolences to anybody if you knew anybody lost in that tragic situation. All right, so who says short term, more loans, more spending, spending rises, prices rise? Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell. We are going to open up the floodgates. Now, it's not going to be that much of any economic shock because they're doing it by 25 basis points, right? Versus it being straight from 4.5% or 4.7% all the way down to 2%, right? So it's not going to be that huge of an economic shock. But nonetheless, if they cut rates, what are we in September now? If they cut rates in September of 2025, this administration, I am almost certain that this administration will be looking for another cut before the end of the year, going into 2026. And then probably asking for 2 more in 2026. Now, I don't know what the magical number is for this administration to reach, but the lower that number is, the larger the impact is going to be on the back end. So going back to what I was saying, right? So 2001, we had the .com, we had 9/11, and what happened? There were aggressive rate cuts in 2001, right? And then we had 2003, and they said it was because of slow job growth, deflation fears. So what happened? They actually increased the rates. They increased it by, I believe it was 1%. So let's see, rates for homes drop, but prices for homes will rise. And home prices are already through the roof. Can be advantage and disadvantage to this. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there really is no wrong answer here. Because a lot of it, when you really take a step back and look at the big picture, just like when you zoom out on your chart, right? You can see from a specific time frame how something is unfolding versus if you're looking at a smaller time frame, right? We know this to be true when we're looking at our charts. We need to start doing the same when it comes to economic certainty. So right now, what we're talking about what's going to impact 2027, 2028, even 2029. So if they do all of these cuts now, we're going to be right back in the same situation come late 2027, 2028, 2029, maybe even further. So like I said, in 2003, we had what they consider a post-recession. 2007 into 2008, we had the financial crisis, right? That's when the cuts went from 5.2% all the way down to almost zero. Crazy. Then we had the trade war in 2019 with China. Then we had COVID in 2019, which put the rate cuts to zero. And what happened? That's when we had quantitative easing. Corporate started buying bonds, right? So then we move into 2023, where they're saying inflation was starting to cool. Then we go into 2024. We got the banks all stressed out, talks of recession. They're starting to ease off or dump money in the market. So then now we move into 2025, the year that we're feeling the pressure from 01, 03, 07, 08, 2019. Now, this is just my perspective. Even though it took a longer period based off of the years I just mentioned to reach this level, if you couple all of these cuts and all of the what's the word I'm looking for? All of the accomplishments this administration is looking to knock off their bucket list, especially based on this one big beautiful bill. 2027, 2028 is going to be crazy. It is going to be crazy. And I don't know if you guys know where they are as far as accomplishments in regards to that Project 2025. You guys better look it up. You guys better look it up. And I ain't on here to preach and scare people, but you got to know what's happening around you. You got to know what's happening around you. And this is part of the reason why I highly encourage you guys to join this boot camp. Because if you don't understand what's happening around you, it is going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen regardless. We're at the point now where there's literally nothing you can do. All you can do at this point is just prepare. And not only that, September is the best month to learn how to play in the market. So I highly encourage you guys to participate in this boot camp. All right. I highly encourage you guys to participate in this boot camp. September is the best month to learn how to get busy in the market. And besides, nobody wants to buy stocks and when they're at an all-time high. Now, of course, now we have some stocks hit an all-time high based on things like AI and companies like NVIDIA, right? So this is not a normal September. This is not a normal September, right? Let me look at something real quick and give you guys some real numbers. Hold on a second. Give you guys some real numbers real quick. All right. So when you look at the S&P 500, which is SPY, right? Month to date, they are up over 2.26%. September normally is, I don't want to say it's a bad month, but it's not a green month for SPY, for the S&P 500 overall. And currently, they're sitting around 2.6% as far as growth. In 2024, it was 2.1. In 2023, it was negative 4.74. In 2022, it was negative 9.24. In 2021, it was negative 4.66. What's up, Debbie? In 2020, it was negative 3.74. But here we are, 2025, and it's looking like 2013 almost. Looking like 2012 almost. Looking like 2010 almost. Now, again, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. All I'm saying is just we got to pay attention. Right? We got to pay attention. So tomorrow, the Fed is supposed to make an announcement in regards to whether or not they're going to do any cuts. How many of you believe that they're going to cut rates tomorrow? Excuse me. How many of you believe they're going to cut rates tomorrow? If you believe they're going to cut rates tomorrow, let me get a one in the chat. Why is this not switching over? Oh, it did switch. Okay. Right here. 2 p.m. Expect that conversation. Really more so 2:30, because that's when he steps out and starts to have a conversation. But let's break down some of these red folders real quick. Okay. And before I do that, let me gauge the chat. Hold on a second. Where are my notes? Come on. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to. This is why I prefer to write notes down versus type them. And I had them, but then my thing, it reset. So now it wasn't sitting up. So give me a moment. Here we go. Okay. All right. So from the news, you expect it. All right. So EV expects cuts. Who expects cuts as well? Okay. Let me check on YouTube real quick. If anybody responded. All right. Yeah, as you're hopeful. So is April. April. So how should we approach the market with that being so late? Me personally, I'm not playing anything tomorrow. I am staying away from the market tomorrow. It's just not worth it's not worth the headache to me. It's just not worth the headache. Now, I'm sure the market is gonna do really nice within the first hour or so, but as it gets closer to Powell's speaking, then yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Because what's gonna happen is he's gonna have a conversation, and depending on whether or not this is a good conversation or a bad conversation, it's just gonna go crazy in either direction. And for me personally to try to figure out which direction that's gonna go, I'd rather just stay out. I really do live by that motto. When in doubt, stay out. So, but I was answering Yaz's question on YouTube. She was wondering um, what my approach would be if I plan on playing in the market tomorrow. And I personally do not plan on playing in the market tomorrow. All right, so let's look at now. So if anybody is ever looking at economic data right now, all of it plays a significant role in whether or not the Fed is going to make a decision or not. But when you're looking at sites like this, which is forexfactory.com, and there's other sites that give you economic data as well, but I like this one specifically. And what it does is it color codes the folders for you, right? So if it's going to have a huge impact, then it's red. If the impact is not so huge, it's going to be orange, and if it's relatively light, it is going to be red. So me personally, even though I look at all of the folders, I like to focus on all of the red ones. Okay. And as you can see, for tomorrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 4 red folders. And on Thursday, we have 1, which is unemployment claims, right? And as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to unemployment, right? If in this case, if the actual is less than the forecast, this is good for currency. Right? So if less people are on unemployment, it's good for currency. If more people are on employment, that's more people that's dependent on the government. Okay. All right. So now let's go to core retail sales. And I'm going to talk about this from a market standpoint. All right. So the core retail sales, the month over month, in this case is 0.7% actual versus a forecast of 0.4%, which is what they're looking for, right? They're looking to show that consumer demand is up, right? Because that helps support ultimately the GDP growth. But now here's the cons of that, right? So if there's a higher demand, it also increases inflationary pressures, right? So you see how it's a double-edged sword? Now, when it comes to the retail sales month over month, now this is your overall consumer spending. That shows that the economy is pretty strong. But that's what you want. You want a strong economy, right? You want a strong economy. But on the back end, it reinforces inflation, right? So you see how this ends up being a double-edged sword? And then we have this one here, the import prices month over month. This is what those tariffs impact, right? So this tells us whether or not import prices are rising. So because this came higher than the forecast, it just simply suggests that the demand for foreign goods is showing consumer strength. Now, here's the negative part about that, right? So the higher the import cost, it feeds what? It feeds inflation. Right? So you see how this all ties in? What's up, Brittany? Appreciate you tapping in. Now you see how all of this ties in? So I highly recommend, and even if economics may not be a strong subject, it's not a strong subject for a lot of people because this by nature is something we just never paid attention to. But with the way this economy is going, with the plans that they have for the future, I highly recommend that we start paying attention to economic data because this impacts everything, especially as an investor. This will cause your SPX or your SPYs or your QQQs or your what's it? Is it IWN or IMW? What is that? The IMW, IWM, right? It causes those tickers to move. This is the data that causes those tickers to move. So we got to make sure we are paying attention to this stuff. You don't want to get caught blindsided with this information. What'd you say, Little? We got a econ class going on here. And listen, we tactical today, right? So I gotta arm you with some information, right? This is what Tactical Tuesdays are for me to arm you with the information so you know how to make those informed decisions on the inside. I tell everybody that's in the boot camp and that has been in the boot camp in the past, in order for you to make the informed decisions, you need to, on the inside, you have to know what's going on in the streets. If you don't take the time to learn what's happening in the streets, how you gonna know how to, like, what type of decisions are you gonna make inside? Like, just like in your neighborhood, right? You want to know what's going on in your community because whatever's going on in your community is going to impact you one way or another. It may not impact you directly, but it may impact your neighbor. So now your neighbor's going to, whether it's good news or bad news, now your neighbor's going to start having a conversation with you about community activities, right? The only difference is that we're looking at it on a bigger scale, right? So instead of it being your immediate community, it could be just your state. Instead of it being your state, it could just be your country, right? Instead of it being your country, it could just be the world, right? That's it. You got to keep your ears to the street. And that's how Yaz made money on BBAI today. That's it, y'all. That's it. Keep your ears to the streets. You know what to do. You know what to do. IWM. Thank you, Evie. Listen, I have so many tickers that run through my mind. Sometimes they may get twisted. Sometimes they may get twisted, right? But again, I highly encourage you guys to take some time and just look at the economic data. And even if you don't want to take the time to look at them all, at least look at the ones that impact the market at minimum, right? This information comes out every month. Same bat time, same bat channel. So you got to make sure you are taking the time to look at this information, all right? Now, what's up, Erica? I'm sorry, I didn't even realize you tapped in. I appreciate you for tapping in. How you doing today? Now, of course, if you want a deeper dive into the economic data, there you go. Listen, guys, I'm telling you, you guys need to be in this boot camp, y'all. I'm not even going to hold you on that. You need to be in this boot camp. I'm telling you. All right. What time is it? All right. Yeah, we were cooking today, y'all. So let's look at one ticker. Let's look at one ticker. Where is the chart? Let me see. Let's look at one ticker. So I'm going to get you guys out of here. One ticker, and I'm going to get you guys out of here. Everybody good? We don't want to look at any tickets. I'm fine with that too. If you don't want to, we can just say we can just bid our farewell. So everybody good? All right. I don't see any tickets, so I'm going to take it that everybody's good. So with that said, again, make sure you tap in for this boot camp. It is going down Monday. All right. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if for whatever reason, some of you may not want to commit to the boot camp, I want you to understand that, because of other obligations that you may have going on during the week, and you're only maybe able to attend maybe 3 sessions versus 5, or attend 4 sessions versus 5, the information is recorded. Okay. So whether you missed Monday and you can make Tuesday through Friday, or you attended Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, missed Thursday, and then were able to pick back up on Friday, you do get the recordings the same evening. All right. The recordings are uploaded immediately after class. Okay. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, because that has been a concern. People have hit me up and like, but I got this going on and I'm not sure if I can attend. But it's okay. It is okay. You do not have to worry about that. All right. And then not only that, you are locked in with me because I have created a community of individuals, and we are still locked into this date since boot camp number 1. All right. So no excuses, guys. All right. All right. So I see Little, you put up Wolf, and Evie, you put up Clean Spark. All right. So I'm going to look at these 2, and then we are going to get out of here. Okay. So I got you. What's up, Moon? Appreciate you tapping in. All right, where's my chart? All right, here we go. Okay, excuse me. Wolf. Oh, whoa. Something just happened. I didn't want to do that. I didn't lose you guys, did I? Oh, no. Okay, all right. All right, Wolf. Currently down 15%. Woo! What happened to you today? Let's see. Wolf saw a notable stock price increase of 27%, reaching a last price of $2.96, accompanied by a trading volume of, wow, that's crazy. Average volume is 26.8, and currently they're looking at 123 million. Something's coming. Something's coming. Let me see. So let's dig a little deeper. I don't see anything in I don't see anything in particular that really causing it to come down. But all right, but nonetheless, let's go to the daily. Hold on a second. Oof. I can tell you this little, that it is indeed positioning for something. Now, what? That has remained to be seen. But it is indeed positioning for something. Right? But like I said, it's already down 15% for the day. But people are indeed buying shares. That is a fact, which is why I'm curious as to why it's not reflecting in the price. Right? Let's see, what is their 52-week high? Let me see something. WOLF. $52-week high is 1745. Today's high is 351. Today's low 240. 52-week low is 39 cents. So if you got in, wow, here's the crazy part. If you got in on Wolf at the beginning of the year, you would actually be down 62%. Wow. Wow. A year ago, you would be down 71%. What is? I actually used to own shares of Wolf, and I sold my shares back in. Let's see if I can see it. I know it wasn't with Robinhood; it was with another account. But yeah, I want to say I sold my shares. What were we in 2025? This was back in 2024. I want to say, was it maybe August? I know it was $10. Was it above 10? Let's see. This is 2024. I don't know, but anyway. Sorry, I'm going off on a little tangent here. All right, so you say they have big resistance at $3.50 and fell down from there. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm just trying to figure out why it fell. I don't see any cause for it falling. That's the crazy part. And then see, this is why it's important to keep your ears to the street, right? Because at the information we just saw, we saw 118. What was that? Trillion? Where was that news at? Come on, open up. 118 million shares went through the system today. Right now, we're sitting at 124 million, right? I don't know, but something's coming. Something is definitely coming. But in order for this thing to break to the upside, it has to pass that resistance at 350 that you saw. That's first and foremost, because this thing is sitting below the 200 EMA. That is for sure. And so in order for it to break that 200 EMA, you got to hit close to $5. So in order for this thing to make any type of movement, it is first going to have to break 353. And my next level would be around 429. Now, this is on the daily, y'all. So this isn't from a day trade perspective. I wouldn't even day trade this. This is worth swings, right? So it would have to cross 353, then 429, and land around $5. I would go and say 5 flat, because something's coming. It's just a matter of time. People ain't buying this thing up for nothing. But I still don't see why, though. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little research on this. Yeah, you got me with this one, little, and it's rare that I am stuck on a stock. But either way, to the upside, 353, it got a break, and then 429, and then 498. Let's see how this looks on the weekly. Same scenario. But on the weekly, it's coming up, though. Let's look at it from a month perspective. Yes, it's turning. So, yeah, this is long-term for sure. This is long-term for sure. I think a friend of mine has a bunch of Wolf shares also. But yeah, there you have it, little. All right. And then the next one was, what was it? What's up, Deb? Appreciate you tapping in. What's up, CDE? What's up, G? What's up, Gab? Appreciate you guys tapping in. So for those who are just tapping in, just to reset the room, we went over a lot of economic information earlier, right? We were talking about how the effects of rate cuts, how it's such a vicious cycle, right? Because if once you cut those rates and inflation starts to cool off, things start to come down, guess what's going to happen? And the result is people are going to spend more and more and more and more and more, which is going to turn around and raise inflation right again, right? Because at some point when those rates are too low, you're going to have to put those rates back, right? What's up, Jose? What's up, Marco? Yeah, so it's a vicious cycle. So I anticipate anywhere in 2027, 2028, we are going to be right back in the same position, having conversations about inflation, for sure, right? Amongst other things, right? What was the next ticker? KICKSTART. Honestly, I don't see how people are still holding on to KICKSTART. Now, I'm only speaking from my perspective because I was holding shares of KICKSTART back in when was the halving? 2024, April of 2024. But I loaded up on KICKSTART between 2023 and 2024. And when that halving happened, yeah, that was it for me. That was it for me. Now, I should have been looking at it from a longer term perspective, but I want to say I held the shares for about a year and some change. And I was just like, it's just not worth it. I feel like I was on a emotional roller coaster. So I just took my gains and just left it. Now, if I do get back in CleanSpark, it will only be for options, because we anticipate CleanSpark, Mara, Riot, even Wolf, right? All of those guys, we expect those guys to run because of you remember, Deb, it was 2024. You remember? Deb, we've been rocking with each other for a long time, for sure. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so when the halving happened, we all anticipated this stuff running up. What happened? It did the complete opposite. The complete opposite. Now I'm not gonna get on into details and stuff like that. What's up, agency? I'm not gonna get all deep into details, but again, me personally, if I'm going to play CleanSpark, it would be from an option standpoint. And then the only way I would pick up shares is if I decided that it just made sense based off of the actual strike price, the strike price of the options contract that I would have purchased. All right, so it's moving up today, right? It's moving up today. Let's see if this is another April baby. Yep, it's been moving up slowly but surely since April, and then started to come back down at the middle of July, and now we are right back climbing that ladder. So it's sitting right above the 200, the 50, the 10, and the 20 EMA, which is a good thing, right? Now the question is, how long will it remain up there, right? So let's see what's going on with the news. Let's say CleanSpark strengthens leadership team to drive innovation growth. CleanSpark strengthens same thing. CleanSpark is maintained a buy by Chardon Capital. But let's dig a little deeper into that. Let's see what analysts have this thing going. $20. Analysts have this thing going to $20 in a year, with a minimum. A max. Oh wait, you guys can't see the screen. Sorry. With they have it going to $20.98 with a max of 30 and a minimum of 15. So it's not bad. If we're sitting at 11 now and it hits its minimum of 15, that would be a nice options play. That's about a good, depending on the actual options, that could be a nice, I want to say 70%, depending on when I got in it. So that's not bad. Let's take a look at the seasonals. Man, so the year to be in CleanSpark was 2023 and 2020. You see what's happening in 2024, 2025, 2021, 2022. So it seems 2025 seems to be following 24, 21, and 22. So I wouldn't anticipate any upward momentum until mid-November. Mid-November going into December. So I wouldn't anticipate any moves until around then. All right, let's go back to the chart. All right, so in this case, we're looking at it on the daily. It is definitely going to have to go a little bit higher, break that 1114, and probably land around 1180. Let's see, there's another area of resistance. About right there. So to the upside, it got to break 1114. to hit 1180. Hopefully it holds above. And then the next level will be 1236 followed by 13. So it is possible for it to hit that 15. It's just a matter of when and why, right? Now, of course, to the downside, if it falls below 1014, then you already know what's going to come, right? You already know it can fall as low as 913, right? Let's look at this on the weekly. Lines up just beautiful. Let's look at it on the monthly. Lines up just beautiful, right? So there we have it. So again, for CLSK to the upside, it needs to break 1114, followed by 1180, followed by 1236, and then 13, and then 1368 to start making its way to what the analysts are calling for at minimum growth to $15, right? But if it falls like it's been doing since July, for whatever reason, if it breaks that 1014, or maybe even to the downside, if it crosses around, let me see, I'm going to say around 1072. So if it falls below 1072, the next level is going to be 1014, followed by 969, and then 913. And if it falls below 913, I want you to hold on to your horses. Because if you are in a call during that time frame, you are going to be upset. All right? All right, Evie? There you go. I got you. Oh, Brittany, if you're still on here, I'll do OKLO for you since I missed it. But let me know if you're still on here, because if you're not on here, then we're just gonna call it a day. So Brittany, if you still are on here, let me know. In the meantime, in between time, join the boot camp. Join the boot camp. Join the boot camp, right? If you guys don't know me, I do things in threes. Okay, it's one of my favorite numbers. All right, and this is why, and this is what makes this boot camp so special, because like I said, 3 is my favorite number, and this is boot camp number 3. So what do you think is going to happen in this boot camp, y'all? I'm coming 3x hard. All right. All right. So Brittany, you are still on here. All right. Let me go. Let's go look at OKLO. Okay. OKLO is up. I'm sorry, down 1.3%. Okay. We're looking at this on the daily. All right. To the downside, it is going to have to come down. Let's see. Let's set some of these levels. And as you can see, I actually anticipated it coming down at some point because I already have some levels set, right? What is this? This has got to be a 52-week high at this point. Let me see what we at. Hold on. Oh, they have earnings coming up. When is it? Oh, no, it's in November. Sorry. Thought it was today. So their 52-week high is, it was today. They hit a high of 97.08. Man. A year ago, this thing was sitting at $6, y'all. So if you got in this thing, you would be up over 1,300% if you got into this a year ago. Year to date, you will be up 345%. Whew. And I remember when this was called out. Right? All right, so to the upside, it already hit a 52-week high, right? So what does that tell me? What goes up must what? Come down. So if it breaks to the downside, 89, 85, 95, 82.70 would be incoming. Let's look at this from a weekly perspective. Lines up really nice. Let's look at it from a monthly perspective. Lines up not as I would like it, but it still lines up pretty nice. But again, because this thing has hit a 52-week high today, and on top of that, the volume has not even surpassed the average volume, I don't see it going any higher than its 52-week high of today. So it's probably just going to end the day off probably right where it's at, somewhere around 94, 95, maybe even 93. But I don't anticipate this thing making any more moves unless more buyers come in during power hour, which is in another hour and a half, roughly, another hour and 20 minutes. So, and then with everything going on with the Fed tomorrow, and I think the market right now is relatively flat too, right? SPY just sitting below, down 66 cents. XPX, $5. So, and we all know why this is happening, right? Because of the uncertainty between today and tomorrow, right? I want Tesla to come back down. I want Hood to come back down. Where's Oracle? I need Oracle to go back up. Where are you? Man, this thing ran up $18 today. Woo. Well, I tell you, this market is playing games. This market is playing games, y'all. All right, y'all. So that's it. I hope all of the information I shared with you today definitely gave you some type of insight, and I hope it added value, right? If it did add value, please make sure you stay locked in because I go live each Tuesday and Thursday. I'm going to say in between 11:15 and 12:15. I'm still trying to figure out a concrete time because what happens is I like to take an hour to go over some things prior to connecting with y'all. So sometimes when that happens and I'm scheduled to go live at 11:15, it doesn't work out. So I have to push it to 12:15. But nonetheless, one of the things I do, and that is show up. All right. I think that's more important than anything. Okay. And again, don't wait. Right. 6 more days. We are going live. Use the discount code LOCKIN. The discount code is LOCKIN. All right. You will get a huge discount. A huge discount. A huge discount. All right. Lock in. The link is in my bio as well as in the comments. It's pinned in the comments. All right. Make sure you lock in today, not tomorrow, not Thursday, not Friday, but today. Right. People are already talking in the community. Those who have already locked in, they are already having those conversations in the community. All right. You are very welcome, Yaz. I appreciate you for tapping in with me. Right. You are indeed a ride or die. I appreciate you. All right. So again, guys, we are going live with this boot camp on Monday. Okay. So remember, the market doesn't care how smart you sound. It only rewards how disciplined you are. So as always, protect your capital because you will need it if you plan to trade in the future. Now, until next time, knowledge is power, but execution is capital. All right. See you guys next time.